Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I have to work on a beautiful reel that Scott found at a flea market. It's a Shimano, it's the TLD Triton Lever Drag 20, and well, this is a typical example of what can go wrong with a reel and why you might find them at a flea market at a relatively inexpensive price. This is a beautiful reel, it's in great condition, but when you return the reel, it stops here rather than stopping all the way over in free spool. So we're going to show you how to service this reel, and we'll show you how to fix that problem as we go along. So this is one of the best reels ever made as a lever drag. It's a single speed. It's a reel that is very durable, has a carbon frame in it, and well, it just has a nice large capacity similar to a 4.0 size reel, and that is always a nice thing to have when you're out on the sea. Well, we're going to start by taking off the exterior parts. You saw I just removed the free spool lever and the preset adjuster pieces. And while I remove the exterior pieces and parts, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you like the art of fishing reel service and repair, if you like to see how reels are made, if you like to learn a little bit more about fishing reels, their manufacturer, use, and so on, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel. I try to cover all of those. Today I'm working on a deep sea lever drag trolling reel. Tomorrow, well, it might be a little pond reel. We just quite never know. Well, I was trying to get this done with a pen wrench. That's not going to work, but there are other wrenches, and it's always good to have a nice assortment of them. One of them is just kind of this universal wrench. I'm going to think that this one probably will work. There you go. That universal wrench is available from mysticparts.com. That's where I got it. And well, it covers both Shimano and Penn reels and Daiwa reels. So the common handle nuts, well, they're kind of up here if they happen to be the scallop nuts. And then there's a series of the hex nuts as well. I had to remove the preset lever and the handle. Didn't have to remove the handle, but you have to in order to service the gear, so you might as well. And then that gives us access to the ramp, and then it'll give us access to the inside of the case. Note that when you do this, that you're going to have two screws that have these plastic bumps or collars on the end of them, and one of the screws on this lever is going to be a flat-headed screw without that bump. That goes in the middle. So just take notes, and better yet, take pictures. Those pictures will help you when you go to reinstall the reel. If you get lost, if you're wondering why something isn't working right or something seems out of sequence, and quite honestly, if somebody had taken a picture earlier of that reel, maybe they could have solved that issue with the free spool. When I remove my pieces and parts, they go into a parts tray, and that parts tray, I kind of organize my pieces by the sub-assemblies. So I have those screws from that lever arch in one place. Now I'll just take these screws out of the main case, I'll put them in another corner of the parts tray, and so on. When I take these screws out, I want to make sure that they're all the same length. It's funny how many screws go into reels that you can service and how many screws are different sizes, even though you would think they would all be the same. There's about 6 of these. I kind of do a rotational thing. I kind of take every other one out, then come back and do it again. That keeps the tension on the side plate even. And yeah, your hand can get weary doing this. And sometimes I get that question that I am frequently asked, can I use a mechanical screwdriver? Well, you can. And if you're going to use it, I would think maybe the right answer is use it on the takeout side rather than on the inbound side. Or if you're using it on the inbound side, stop it short of fully setting the screw, because those screwdrivers have a lot of torque. And I've seen cracked cases come into the shop because, well, somebody was using that mechanical screwdriver and over-torqued it and smashed the graphite side plate. So just be aware of that. Personally, I like working with my hands, which is probably why I tend to take them all out with the screwdriver, even on these big reels. But there's some that just, well, they just get wearying after a while. The Penn International is another one with a lot of screws in the side plate. Right now they're all the same size, and that's always a good thing to note. Sometimes this one with the harness in it is a longer one. I don't know if we'll find that out right now. Nope, that continues to be the same size. I should have one more. So I think right now probably all of those screws are the same. 2, 4, 6, 7 side plate screws. That'll keep you busy. Okay, I'm still holding the case firm. There are springs and things in here that, well, you don't want to lose them if the case pops off. So I'm going to take those 7 screws. Thought I dropped one there for a moment. Put them in a corner. Now we can remove the side plate. When you go to service this reel, there's really 2 sides of it. There's a gear side. There's one of the things that popped loose, that anti-reverse dog. There's a washer that came out of the front. Notice that on the handle assembly. And then this is our spool. So when you're servicing this reel, you're servicing 2 pieces really. The case has no service requirements other than you might want to put a little drop of oil onto the click. This is amazing because the reel looks new internally as well as exterior on the exterior. I don't know who had it apart to kind of get it messed up to begin with, but shame on them, right? All right, unscrew. That's what it says right on here. Unscrew in a directional arrow that way, which means that it's a counter-threaded one. Most of the time we would try to unscrew the reels with the going in a clockwise manner. This one goes, well, I'm sorry, in a counterclockwise manner. This one goes in a clockwise manner. That's your shield, your pressure plate. Yeah, this is brand new. Scott, you got a reel here that's never been used. Very nice. I don't know why they got it all buggered up there, but they did. So all we need to do here, we can do a couple of things. Let's just show, because it is such a beautiful reel, we'll show you how the other side works here. There's two screws here that are retaining screws for the trip plate. That plate's holding in the back end of the axle. We want to get to the bearing that's underneath, so we'll do that. You can pull that out, and it's a good thing we did, because while you probably have the original grease in here, but it is dried, it does evaporate over time, and that's probably what's caused this here. If you have your axle out, note that there is a C-clamp about midway through that axle, and well, if you drop it off somewhere, make sure you put it back when you go to reassemble. That's where the pictures kind of help. Oil bearings, I don't grease them, and well, this is an example of why I don't grease them. The issue would be that over time it'll dry and it can cake into that bearing, and well, slow down the performance of the bearing. All right, we're going to push that back in. We're going to align the holes for those 2 set screws. Just going to play roulette with that, kind of roll it around until my pick finds the hole. And then we can put these 2 little screws in. That's going to hold that bearing assembly in place. That little pin that's coming out of the back of the axle is going to lodge into the side plate, and that's going to hold the axle shaft firm. So the spool will turn on the axle, but the axle does not turn in a lever drag reel. There's various ways that manufacturers anchor that piece. This is just one of them, but most of them have some kind of an assembly like this one, where it is anchored into the back of the case using a pin. Okay, that's done. This is an example of what a brand new drag washer looks like. This one's reversible, so if you wear out this side, you flip it over, use the other side before you order new. Here's that bearing that came out. We'll use the oil on that bearing. This is the bearing spring. We have a bearing on the inside of the pressure plate. Oil that. That's nice and shiny, no cleanup necessary here. And then we're going to put the pressure plate cover back on. Now remember, we're reverse screwing in the removal of this. So the set is to do it in a counterclockwise manner, which I guess traditionally we would think is kind of the opposite of the way it should go. Turn it, make sure it's turning free and easy. It is. Line that crossed pin with the hole in your side plate. And you don't need to grease that. That's not moving anywhere. Let's come over and show you the pieces here. This is simplicity at its best. We have the pinion gear. We have the bearing, and we have the main gear. Let's remove the pinion gear from the bearing. We can seat that bearing back into the case. And oil again. Normally you'll inspect for wear, but I think we've already determined there's no wear on this reel. That's 2 words, no wear, not 1 word, no wear. As in nowhere to go. Okay, clean out the old dry grease. Let's apply another little coat of grease here. And this one, even though it came out of the bearing side, I like to put this one into the pressure plate assembly for reinstall. That's because there's kind of a little series of 8 or 9 holes, one for each tooth on that side. It's harder to merge that into the final install than it is with the reverse, where you're trying to just put a circle of that shaft in there. Doing the same thing here, and I'm checking the teeth, even though, as I said, there's kind of minimum wear going on with this one. Once I inspect the teeth, make sure they're okay. A good amount of fishing reel grease is next. So the problem with that preset, we'll get to it in a moment, is that the ramps were not set properly. And we'll show you how to do that. Speaking of setting properly, that dog is off the post. There is a spring here. It's held in by a little clip. It attaches to a hook on your anti-reverse dog. This does not have a automatic anti-reverse. It just simply has this anti-reverse dog. So when you go to install, I need a little bit of grease onto the main shaft. When you go to install, you're going to insert your gear into the slot, and when you get to about there, hold pressure on the gear, pull up on the back tag of the anti-reverse dog. That will set it. Before you go too far, you want to get your components for the handle. There was that thin washer that we saw bounce out before. There's a cap, the handle, and the handle screw. That's going to hold everything in place. If you try to do this without putting the handle on at this point, what's going to happen typically is that anti-reverse dog is going to jump off. And as you can see, I'm struggling with this, but we'll get it right. There's too many things going on, not enough hands. All right, I've got that started now. We can kind of circle that and bring this in. And we'll show you that the anti-reverse is working. Okay, everything's tight. We'll tighten it up one more clank there, but you can see now that anti-reverse is working. So essentially this reel is serviced on the spool side and on the gear side. And all we have to do now is set the free spool assembly so that it works with the full range. Take the axle shaft and pinion gear assembly, make sure that's seated in the cap, insert it through the hole in that bearing. You want to line up your screw holes. There we go. And well, we've got 7 of these things to put on, but I like to start with kind of one on each side. That will enable me to get the tension onto the case, and I don't have to use my fingers as a vise any longer. These screws, I think, are probably could be used as a number 2 Phillips head driver. No, number 1 seems to be the answer. A little skip going. You could also do a straight bladed screwdriver on these screws. The slot does go all the way through. I just wind up with a little click click every now and then. I don't want to damage the threads on it. Okay. Well, I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute. You don't need to see me put 7 more screws in. We'll be back in a moment. I've just finished the 7 screws. I'm going to turn that handle out of the way. The next piece up then is our trip ramp or our slide ramp for the lever drag. And sometimes you need to put the lever, because it has that little beak, on before you mount that piece. So just kind of work it over in position, something like that. You don't have to be precise. Just get it on, because once you tighten up this slide assembly, hooking that beak sometimes is difficult. Remember, we have the 2 stops, one for the max drag, one for the free spool. One goes on each side. Just tighten those down. Here's our second one. And we have the flap-headed screw that goes in the middle of the ramp. I see a lot of reels come in with this problem with the lever after service, and quite honestly a lot of folks just scratch their heads with it, and I used to do that as well. Took me a while to figure it out, but take your free spool lever now, or your lever drag lever, set it into free spool mode. You're going to notice that there's 2 ramps here, or insets, kind of valleys. And you get your preset, I don't know what they call this, preset washer maybe. Find those 2 with the pyramids on it. They go into these valleys. And make sure that it nests all the way down. That guarantees you that you're at the maximum for the free spool. What happens when somebody goes in a little bit of a different direction is that those valleys aren't lined up properly. And so what happens is you stop when you get to the max drag stop on one of these. All right, give it a little bit of a tightening and then give it a swing. Make sure that it's all the way over. Kind of problem solved, right? When you go to adjust free spool now, always adjust your drag pressures in the free spool mode. Let's give it a spin. It's hard to see because that's a black spool, but it is spinning beautifully. Let's go to first strike and you'll see that the handle turns. So we're set with that. Go to max drag then. And that's it. Pretty simple. Well, not exactly simple, but you get the idea. Free spool. Nice spinning reel. First strike. That should have a little bit of play. And then when you go to max drag, you should be fully tightened down. So, all right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. That's our Shimano TLD 20, the Triton lever drag. This one's a beauty. It's brand new. We had a problem with the preset adjuster not being positioned properly. We show you how to solve that. And all we have to do now is kind of tighten up that handle. Use that set screw, because I'm looking into my parts tray. That's the only piece that's kind of missing right now. We'll install that, and while I'm doing that, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, all the folks that have dedicated their careers to public service and safety. It's a great thing that we have you working with us and for us. All right, there we go. One more shot of drip of oil into the handle there for the handle operation, and that's it. I hope you've enjoyed that. Well, it's almost time for fishing season, and I suggest that everybody who's got one of these reels and other reels take a moment to service these things, get them ready for the run, and then enjoy your time on the water with friends and family. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.